The space station was old,
Please, you
cold,
have to
and
understand
loud.
we're not a threat.
Metal walls
We're
shook
just
as
trying to
ships came and
survive.
went. Bright lights flickered like tired stars. In the middle of Hall 9, a human man stood alone. His name was Ethan Cole. He was not a hero. He was not a soldier. He was a traitor who followed rules to survive. In front of him sat 3 alien merchants. Their bodies were tall and thin, with gray skin and sharp eyes. They controlled this station. Everyone knew it. When they spoke, people listened. One of them pushed a datapad across the table. "Sign," the alien said. "This is your next deal." Ethan looked down at the screen. His hands stopped moving. The order was clear. Sell 1 alien female and her 3 children. Delivery time. 1 hour. Ethan slowly raised his eyes. "Children?" he asked. The aliens did not answer. They only stared. Behind Ethan, a small holding room opened. 2 guards stepped aside. That was when Ethan saw them. The alien mother stood in the corner. She was smaller than the guards. Her skin was light blue, her eyes large and dark. She held 3 small children close to her body. They were thin, shaking, and silent. They did not cry. That scared Ethan more than screams. The mother looked at him. Her eyes were full of fear. But there was something else too. Hope. Ethan felt his chest tighten. He did not understand why. He had seen many slaves before. This was not new. So why did this feel different? One of the alien merchants spoke again. "They are valuable. A rare species. Good price." "They are alive," Ethan said quietly. The merchant smiled. "So are tools." The guards pushed the family forward. The children held tighter to their mother. One of them looked up at Ethan. The child's eyes met his. The child whispered something in a soft, alien sound. Ethan did not know the words, but he understood the meaning. "Please." Ethan turned back to the table. "This deal," he said, choosing his words. "I don't usually handle families." The aliens leaned closer. "This is not a request," one said. "You work for us." Ethan's mind raced. If he refused, he would lose his ship, his credits, his life on this station. Humans were weak here. Everyone knew that. The alien mother lowered her head. She seemed ready for the worst. She did not beg. She only held her children and waited. That hurt more than crying. Ethan remembered something from long ago. A small room on Earth, empty chairs. No voices. He pushed the memory away. "Sign," the alien said again. A weapon rested on the table now. Not hidden. Not a threat. A promise. Ethan reached for the datapad. The children watched him. The mother closed her eyes. Time slowed. He saw his name glowing on the screen. One touch and the deal was done. One touch and the family was gone forever. Ethan's fingers stopped. He looked at the weapon. Then at the merchants. Then back at the family. The smallest child looked straight at him and whispered again. This time louder. Ethan took a deep breath. "I won't sell them," he said. The room went silent. Then the aliens laughed. "You are human," one said. "You will." Ethan stood up. "No," he repeated. "I won't." The guards moved closer. The weapon hummed. Ethan's heart pounded, but his voice stayed calm. "They are not cargo," he said. "They are a family." The laughter stopped. The merchants' eyes turned cold. "You will regret this," one said softly. Ethan did not answer. He stepped between the guards and the alien mother, for the first time. She opened her eyes and looked at him again. This time, the hope was real. The lights above flickered. Security alarms hummed quietly in the walls. Somewhere in the station, a decision had been made, and nothing would ever be the same again. Ethan's heart was still pounding. The alien mother, Sira, held her children closer, her small arms trembling. The traitor's laughter echoed in the cold hall, but Ethan did not move. He felt a strange warmth in his chest, a feeling he had not felt in years, Responsibility. The merchants leaned forward, their sharp eyes like knives. You cannot refuse, human. This is your work. Your life depends on it. Ethan took a deep breath. He thought of the small home he had once dreamed of on a distant human planet. Empty chairs, no voices, no laughter. He remembered what it felt like to be truly alone. He had survived by following rules, by avoiding trouble. But now he felt something stronger than fear. He looked at Sira again. She was quiet, but he saw the silent plea in her eyes. The children, 3 tiny beings with strange, delicate features, watched him carefully. One of them whispered the same alien word he could not understand, but its meaning was clear. Help us. Ethan clenched his fists. The data pad glowed in front of him, ready for his signature. One touch and the family would belong to the traders. He could take the credits, buy his freedom, and never worry again. He did not touch it. Instead, he reached for another option, the ownership responsibility contract that traders rarely offered. It was meant for rare cases, for humans who had to supervise dangerous species, not sell them. Ethan signed it, but not in the way the merchants expected. This family. They will live, he said. His voice was calm but firm. I will be responsible for them. Not sell them. The merchants stared, confused at first, then angry. You dare make such a choice? One hissed. Humans are weak. You are weak. Ethan did not back down. I am choosing, he said. I am choosing to protect them. That is all. The guards shifted, unsure what to do. Sira's eyes widened, hope growing brighter in them. She whispered softly to her children. They hugged her tighter, as if sensing that a human, this one human, was no longer their enemy. The merchants' faces turned pale with fury. You will pay for this, one said. This will ruin you. Ethan simply nodded. Perhaps, he admitted. But I cannot sell them. Not now. Not ever. The traders exchanged quick words in their alien language. They were planning something worse, something hidden. Ethan knew they would not give up easily. But he had made his choice. And once a human made a choice, he did not go back. Sira watched him silently. For the first time in her life, she felt safe, not completely, but enough to hope. The children's whispers filled the air, small and uncertain. But Ethan felt them. They were speaking to him in a language older than words. Trust. The station's alarms were quiet now. But danger was everywhere. Traders rarely forgave. Shadows moved beyond the hall, silent observers waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Ethan looked at the mother and her children one last time. We leave tonight, he said softly. I will find a place for you where no one can take you. Sira nodded slowly. She did not speak. She did not need to. Her eyes said everything. Thank you, please, and stay with us. Ethan turned to the merchants, who glared at him with hatred. You may try to stop me, he said, but this family is mine to protect. One of the aliens bared sharp teeth in a cruel smile. Then we will see, human, it said. We will see if your kind can survive in our galaxy. Ethan's hands shook slightly, but his mind was clear. He was ready. He had chosen a path that no human had walked before, to protect those who could not protect themselves. Even at the risk of everything, Sira's children huddled close to her. And Ethan felt something he had never felt before. This was no longer about rules, contracts, or survival. This was about family. And for the first time, he knew what he was willing to fight for. Ethan moved quietly through the corridors of the station, keeping Sira and her children close. The small family huddled behind him, their blue and silver skin glowing faintly under the flickering lights. The children's eyes followed every movement, trusting him completely, though they barely understood what was happening. The traders had left the hall, but Ethan knew their reach went far beyond this station. News traveled fast in the galaxy. A human protecting alien children was considered dangerous, reckless. They will come for us, Ethan whispered, more to himself than to Sierra. Sierra shook her head, her dark eyes wide with fear. Why? We did nothing wrong. They think humans are greedy, Ethan said, lowering his voice. They will see this as an insult. The smallest child, no taller than Ethan's knee, whispered something in its soft alien voice. Ethan knelt down to listen. He didn't understand the words, but he felt the meaning in the child's tone. We are scared. Ethan's heart tightened. He could not let them see fear. Not yet. Not while danger was close. As they reached a quiet maintenance tunnel, Ethan paused. The sound of engines rumbled faintly above them. He pressed his back to the wall, listening. Shadows moved along the walls. Not human, not station security. Something different. Something faster. They are coming, Ethan muttered. Sierra's children clung to her, their tiny hands gripping her skin. What will we do? She asked. Her voice was trembling, but not weak. It was a quiet strength born of desperation. Ethan scanned the tunnel. Escape routes were limited. If the traitors sent soldiers, they would find the family quickly. But Ethan had a plan, a small hope that might keep them alive. He led them to a narrow cargo shaft, one few humans ever used. It was dangerous, and the climb to the roof would be difficult. But it was their only chance. As they moved, Ethan felt it, the presence of someone or something following them. The shadow did not make noise like normal footsteps. It moved silently, patiently. Stay close, Ethan said, his voice firm. The children flinched slightly, but they obeyed. Finally, they reached the top of the station. The cold metal plates reflected the faint starlight outside. Ethan looked out at the galaxy spread before him. Thousands of ships, thousands of eyes watching, judging. Somewhere out there, bounty hunters and enemy ships had already received the news. He turned back to the family. We can leave, he said. But we must be careful. They will try to stop us. Sierra looked at him, fear mixed with gratitude. Why are you helping us? She asked softly. Ethan paused. He had no perfect answer. No story of heroism. He had survived by following rules and avoiding trouble. But rules did not matter here. Not anymore, because no one else will, he said simply. The family moved toward a small shuttle hidden behind cargo containers. Ethan scanned the station one last time. Shadows shifted. The enemy was awake now, alert, ready. As the shuttle lifted off, the station lights flickered and alarms began to sound. Somewhere inside, the traitors realized their human had betrayed them. Somewhere in the galaxy, the bounty was rising. Ethan's grip on the shuttle controls tightened. He looked at Sierra, then at the children. We leave tonight, he said. And no one will take you from me. Outside, stars streaked past as the shuttle shot into hyperspace. Danger was following. But for the first time, the small family felt safe. For now and Ethan knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy had noticed, and it would not forget a human who chose family over profit. The shuttle's engines hummed softly as it glided through the darkness of space. Outside, distant stars shimmered like scattered diamonds. Inside, the small family huddled together, wrapped in blankets Ethan had brought from his ship. The children were still quiet, their eyes wide and curious, occasionally peeking at Ethan with trust he had never expected. Sierra sat close, holding her children tightly. Her soft alien voice finally spoke in a small whisper. Why are you helping us? Ethan shook his head. Because someone should, he said simply. No speeches. No hero talk. Just the truth. The youngest child reached out and touched Ethan's hand. Tiny fingers pressed against his skin. The gesture was simple, but it carried something powerful: hope. Ethan felt it like a spark in his chest, warming him from the inside. Days passed as they traveled to a distant, abandoned planet. Ethan knew. It was far from the main trade routes, quiet, and safe at least for now. There, he taught Sira and her children how to survive outside the station, how to gather water, grow food, and use simple machines to repair the small shelters. The children laughed for the first time. Their voices were musical, light, and new to Ethan's ears. Each laugh felt like sunlight breaking through a dark cloud he had carried for years. Sira began to trust him more every day. She taught him words in her language, and he taught her human words in return. Slowly, a bridge formed between them, two species finding understanding in the smallest things. A shared meal, a safe shelter, a story told under starlight. Ethan noticed something else. The children started calling him something close to their word for guardian. At first, he pretended not to notice. But when the eldest child whispered it quietly while falling asleep, he felt a strange ache in his chest. It was an ache he had never known belonging. One night, under a sky filled with unfamiliar stars, Ethan sat outside the small hut, watching the alien children play quietly nearby. Sira approached and sat beside him. She did not speak immediately. She only looked at the children, then at him. "They call you." "Something like father," she said finally, her voice soft. Ethan laughed, a little awkwardly. "I don't think I'm ready for that title," he said. Sira smiled faintly. "They don't care. They feel safe with you. That is enough." Ethan looked at the stars, thinking of all the choices he had made to survive in the galaxy. Every rule he had ever followed seemed meaningless now. What mattered was here, in the small, quiet moment, with a family that was not his by blood, but was his by choice. But the peace did not last long. From the darkness of space, a small shadow appeared, an enemy scout ship, silent and fast. Ethan saw it on his sensors and felt the familiar tension rise. The traitors were not done. They would not let a human protect aliens without consequences. Sira noticed his expression. "Are they coming?" she asked. Ethan nodded. "Yes, but we are ready. We have to be." He stood up, feeling the weight of responsibility. For the first time in his life, he wasn't alone. And for the first time, he knew he would fight not for rules, not for survival, but for this family. The children ran to him, small hands gripping his. In that moment, Ethan realized something. This was no longer about hiding or escaping. It was about protecting. About teaching the galaxy that humanity could be something more than fear or greed. They were a family now. And Ethan would do everything to keep them safe. The stars above blinked silently, as if watching the beginning of something new, a human standing tall, not for profit or power, but for love. The alien children slept quietly in their small hut, their soft breaths filling the night air. Sira sat beside them, her eyes scanning the horizon, but Ethan was already outside. The wind of the alien planet was cold against his skin, but he did not shiver. Danger had come before, and he had learned to face it. A red light flashed on his sensor panel. Enemy ships. Dozens of them. Traitors had sent soldiers to take the family back. They wanted the children, the mother, and anyone who dared protect them. Ethan's jaw tightened. He did not have a fleet. He did not have advanced weapons like theirs. He had only himself, his ship, and his determination. "Ethan," Sira whispered, her voice trembling. "We are too small. You cannot stop them." Ethan turned to her, calm but firm. "I can try. And that is enough. Sometimes just trying is what counts." The ships descended quickly, engines roaring. Shadows of soldiers moved across the barren land toward their small hut. The children stirred, sensing the danger, and clung to Sira. Ethan stepped forward, putting himself between the family and the approaching enemy. The soldiers raised their weapons. He could see the surprise in their eyes. They expected a human to run. They expected fear. Ethan did not move. His hands were empty, but his stance was strong. He looked at them, not with anger, but with certainty. "If you want them," he said loudly, his voice carrying across the cold wind. "You go through me." The leader of the soldiers sneered. "You are alone, human. You cannot win." Ethan smiled faintly. "I don't have to win. I just have to stand." The soldiers fired. Ethan ducked and rolled behind a small rock. Shots bounced off the ground, but none hit him. He moved quickly, grabbing what little cover he could find. Keeping himself between the family and harm, Sira stepped forward, her small voice trembling. "Ethan, please." He shook his head. "Stay inside. Watch the children. Trust me." Time slowed. The enemy expected chaos, expected him to fall. But Ethan's heart was steady. His mind was clear. He did not fight for glory, or credits, or power. He fought for the tiny family behind him, for the first time feeling a bond that no danger could break. Suddenly, the eldest child peeked out from the hut. Its small hand waved at him, a silent gesture of trust. Ethan's chest tightened. He was not alone. He had this family counting on him, and he would not fail. A soldier advanced closer. Ethan stood his ground. He dodged another shot and kicked a nearby metal crate toward the enemy. It was not much, but it slowed them down. Every second mattered. The alien mother emerged briefly, holding the youngest child. Ethan caught her eye. "Go back," he shouted. She obeyed, retreating behind the safety of the hut. Ethan could feel the tension of the galaxy pressing down on him. Every human in the universe was known for weakness here, but this moment would change that. One soldier lunged at him. Ethan sidestepped, tripped, and rolled, using the ground to his advantage. He was not invincible, but he was human. And humans had something others often did not: courage born of choice. He stood again, facing the soldiers. The wind howled. The children peeked from the hut, watching. Sira clutched her youngest, whispering a prayer in her strange, beautiful language. Ethan raised his voice. "I told you. If you want them, you go through me." The soldiers hesitated. They expected fear. They expected him to run. They did not expect this one human standing alone, ready to protect a family not his own. Time seemed to pause. The galaxy watched silently, knowing something rare had appeared, a human standing tall, unafraid, defending life simply because it was right. And in that silence, Ethan realized he had become more than a survivor. He had become a protector. The battle was coming. But Ethan had already won something far greater, the truth of what humanity could be. The red glow of enemy lasers painted the barren landscape as Ethan ducked behind a jagged rock. His arms were scraped, his clothes torn, but his resolve had never been stronger. Every time a soldier tried to advance, he found a way to slow them down, kicking debris, dodging shots, using the terrain. One human, standing alone, against an army trained to take life without hesitation. Inside the small hut, Sira held her children close. She could hear the shouts and gunfire, but she also felt something new: hope. Somehow this human, this Ethan, was keeping them alive. She did not understand how, but she trusted him completely. Suddenly, a streak of light flashed across the sky. It was alien ships from neighboring systems, species who had been watching the galaxy for centuries. They had heard of Ethan's defiance. They had seen a human protect those weaker than himself. And they had chosen to intervene. The enemy soldiers paused, confused. More ships appeared, their weapons trained on the traitors. Ethan's heart pounded not with fear, but with relief. The galaxy was watching. Humanity was being seen not as weak or selfish, but as something else: noble, brave, protective. The traitors screamed commands, but their soldiers faltered. They were unprepared for resistance, not from a human alone, and not from the sudden arrival of alien reinforcements. The enemy ships struck swiftly, disabling the traitors' vessels one by one. Lasers and energy blasts lit the sky like fireworks, but Ethan did not flinch. He continued to shield the family, moving them carefully toward a safer area. Sira watched him, her voice barely audible. You saved us." Ethan shook his head. "We saved each other," he said. "I just chose to stand." The children peeked from the hut, their eyes wide with wonder. One of them whispered the word they had been using for Ethan father. It was more than a word. It was trust. It was love. The traitors' forces collapsed. Their soldiers retreated or surrendered. Their plans to reclaim the alien family had failed completely. And all of this because one human had decided that protecting life was more important than following orders or taking profit. For the first time, the galaxy saw humans not as weak, not as greedy, not as fearful, but as capable of courage and compassion beyond expectation. Ethan guided Sira and her children out of the chaos. The alien allies formed a protective circle around them, escorting them away from the battle. The children laughed nervously, holding his hands, and for a moment, Ethan allowed himself a smile. He was battered, tired, and injured, but alive. And more importantly, the family he had chosen to protect was alive, too. For Ethan, this was more than a victory over traitors. It was proof of something greater. Humanity could choose honor over greed, courage over fear, and love over indifference. The stars above shimmered silently, bearing witness to this revelation. One human had stood alone, and in doing so, he had changed the way the galaxy saw his kind forever. Sira whispered softly to her children, who clung to Ethan, "We are safe." Because of him. Ethan looked up at the stars, feeling the weight of what he had done. He had not just survived. He had made a difference. And in that moment, the HFY truth shone brighter than any weapon or fleet. A human could protect life, not because they had to, but because they chose to. The battle was over. Silence returned to the barren planet, broken only by the wind rustling across jagged rocks. Ethan stood among the wreckage of enemy ships, bruised and tired, but with his chest held high. He looked around at the small family he had risked everything to protect. Sira hugged her children tightly. Their eyes were bright, filled with relief and a cautious happiness. The youngest child reached for Ethan's hand, and he grasped it gently. For a moment, nothing else mattered. No traitors. No soldiers. No galaxy watching. Just this small, fragile family and the bond they had formed. "They are free," Sira whispered, her voice trembling. "We can live. Without fear." Ethan nodded. "Yes, we can." For the first time, he allowed himself to imagine a future. A simple home. A quiet life where the children could laugh without hiding. Where Sira could sleep without worrying about being hunted. Where humanity could mean something more than survival. The Galactic Council, informed by witnesses of the battle, soon passed a law that would echo across the stars. No family could ever be sold again. Ethan was offered recognition, titles, and power. He could command fleets or govern worlds. But he refused. Titles and ranks were meaningless compared to the warmth of a home, and the trust of those who called him father in their soft, alien voices. Instead, he built a small home on the quiet planet. It was modest, almost too simple for someone who had faced the galaxy's dangers. But it was filled with laughter, learning, and love. The children played under alien suns, and Sira taught Ethan things he had never known. Songs in her language. Stories of her world, ways to see beauty even in the darkest places. Ethan taught them. Too, not as a teacher, but as a guardian. He taught courage, the meaning of choices, and the strength of standing up for what is right. Slowly, a small, extraordinary family flourished. One evening, as twin moons rose above the horizon, Ethan sat with Sira and the children. They watched the stars together. The galaxy stretched endlessly above them, full of dangers and wonders. Ethan whispered to Sira, "I never knew family could feel like this." She smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. Family, it isn't about who you are or where you come from. It's about who stands with you when it matters most. The children giggled, leaning against Ethan, their tiny hands holding his. In their laughter, he found the truth he had been searching for his whole life. Humanity was not just survival, power, or conquest. Humanity was courage, love, and the choice to protect those who could not protect themselves. In a cold and vast galaxy, a human had stood for something greater. A human had shown that even one person could change the lives of many, not for profit, not for glory, but for the simple power of love and choice. And as the stars twinkled above, Ethan realized something he had always known, but never truly felt until now. A family, chosen and protected, was stronger than any army. And humanity at its best was the warmest force in the universe. The galaxy could watch, and perhaps it would learn. Humans were not just survivors. Humans could be heroes. And in that quiet home, among laughter, alien songs, and soft whispers of children calling him Father, Ethan had finally found where he belonged. The end. The battle was over. Silence returned to the barren planet, broken only by the wind rustling across jagged rocks. Ethan stood among the wreckage of enemy ships, bruised and tired, but with his chest held high. He looked around at the small family he had risked everything to protect. Sira hugged her children tightly. Their eyes were bright, filled with relief and a cautious happiness. The youngest child reached for Ethan's hand, and he grasped it gently. For a moment, nothing else mattered. No traitors, no soldiers, no galaxy watching. Just this small, fragile family and the bond they had formed. They are free, Sira whispered, her voice trembling. We can live without fear. Ethan nodded. Yes, we can. For the first time, he allowed himself to imagine a future. A simple home. A quiet life where the children could laugh without hiding. Where Sira could sleep without worrying about being hunted. Where humanity could mean something more than survival. The Galactic Council, informed by witnesses of the battle, soon passed a law that would echo across the stars. No family could ever be sold again. Ethan was offered recognition, titles, and power. He could command fleets or govern worlds. But he refused. Titles and ranks were meaningless compared to the warmth of a home, and the trust of those who called him father in their soft, alien voices. Instead, he built a small home on the quiet planet. It was modest, almost too simple for someone who had faced the galaxy's dangers. But it was filled with laughter, learning, and love. The children played under alien suns, and Sira taught Ethan things he had never known. Songs in her language, stories of her world, ways to see beauty even in the darkest places. Ethan taught them, too, not as a teacher, but as a guardian. He taught courage, the meaning of choices, and the strength of standing up for what is right. Slowly, a small, extraordinary family flourished. One evening, as twin moons rose above the horizon, Ethan sat with Sira and the children. They watched the stars together. The galaxy stretched endlessly above them, full of dangers and wonders. Ethan whispered to Sira, I never knew family could feel like this. She smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. Family, it isn't about who you are or where you come from. It's about who stands with you when it matters most. The children giggled, leaning against Ethan, their tiny hands holding his. In their laughter, he found the truth he had been searching for his whole life. Humanity was not just survival, power, or conquest. Humanity was courage, love, and the choice to protect those who could not protect themselves. In a cold and vast galaxy, a human had stood for something greater. A human had shown that even one person could change the lives of many, not for profit, not for glory, but for the simple power of love and choice. And as the stars twinkled above, Ethan realized something he had always known, but never truly felt until now. A family, chosen and protected, was stronger than any army. And humanity at its best was the warmest force in the universe. The galaxy could watch, and perhaps it would learn. Humans were not just survivors. Humans could be heroes.